This is the first in a series of videos that describes how to specify the composition of a unit. A unit's composition is the set of models that are attached to the unit, and those models determine the behavior and the capabilities of the unit. So you're going to learn how to specify the composition of units, and in addition to that, we're going to spend some time talking about each of the specific types of models that can be attached to a unit and the role that those models play in the behavior of the unit and hence in the overall execution of the scenario. So this is a very important set of videos to understand the overall modeling architecture of Flames. Not every user needs to understand this. If you're working with patterns that have been created by someone else, it's the people who create the patterns that are specifying the composition of the unit. So all the units that you create with patterns already have their composition specified, and you don't necessarily need to get into the details of what that composition is. But if you're going to be creating your own units from scratch using different kinds of models, and especially if you're a software developer and you're developing models for Flames, you'll need to be familiar with the videos, with all these videos. These are a very important set of videos. In this first video, I'm going to just give you an overview of unit composition, and then in the videos that follow, we'll look at the role of specific types of models that can be attached to units. So let's get started. You should go ahead and start Forge, and we're still using the tutorial project, the same project that we've been using in these videos so far. So if you've been completing the prerequisites for this video, you already know about the tutorial project. And this tutorial project is using the tutorial content. That's the only content that we need. So I'm going to log in as my individual Flames user, as we've been doing for most of the other videos. And I'm going to go and open up one of the example scenarios. And so I'm going to switch to the Flames example user. And this time I'm going to open up the tutorial no units scenario. So this will be, it's actually the exact same scenario as the tutorial single shooter. Has all the same data sets with the exception of it doesn't have a unit data set. So there'll be no units in this scenario at all. We're going to create all the units that we're going to be looking at in this set of videos ourselves. So we don't need a scenario that has any units. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. And as always, I'm not going to log in as the Flames example user. And right away, as is also our common practice, I have this scenario data set loaded in memory and I own it, but I don't have my own copy of it. So I'm going to hit save, and since it knows it's a brand new scenario for me, Forge prompts me for the name, and I'm not going to leave it tutorial no units. I'm going to call this the composition tutorial. So this is the composition tutorial scenario. The models that we're using in this scenario, as has been the case for the other user videos that preceded this set of videos, are the tutorial models. And I want to remind you that these tutorial models are not useful for any real scenario. They're so simple, they have very limited capability, that they're not really useful for building any serious scenario. The starter components available in the Flames store contain much more elaborate models, much more complex models that are suitable for use in a real scenario, in a serious scenario. But the tutorial models are really good for training, because even though the content of the model is very simple, each of these models actually implements all of the Flames interfaces and all of the parts of the model that are important for each type of model. So they're great models for understanding the basic fundamental capabilities and roles of the models. So we're going to stick with these tutorial models, and the developer tutorials, developer training videos, work off the tutorial models as well, because we're trying to teach you how to develop different types of models for Flames, and we don't want to get bogged down in the details of the implementation of specific individual models. So that's why we have these tutorial models. And so just want to remind you that we're not using anything that's real. So if you look at this and say, oh, this is real simple, Flames can't do anything complicated, well, you need to remember what I just said, that we're not trying to do a serious scenario. We're trying to just learn how to use Flames. So the first thing I want to do is just create a unit, and we've done this before. So in fact, I'm going to create the shooter unit that is in the single shooter scenario. So I'm going to right click somewhere in the middle of the map and select new unit. And I'm going to go down here to this blue shooter autonomous. And I'm going to click on that, and it gives me a description of it. And it needs a name. So I'm just going to call it shooter. I think I'll call it blue shooter. And it doesn't require any other inputs other than that. So I'll enter that information and I'll hit finish. And so there's my blue shooter right here in the middle of the scenario. And the reason, right in the middle of the map, and the reason I wanted to create this was because I wanted to show you the composition. So when this unit got created, it automatically came with a bunch of models attached to it. So there are 8 different models that are attached to this particular unit. And that's one of the advantages of creating units by using unit patterns. When we do a new unit, these things are called unit patterns. They're patterns for units. So we specify whatever inputs they need, and then we get a specific unit based on that pattern. Patterns should always specify the composition of the unit. So if you're creating units this way, as I mentioned already in this video, you don't really need to worry about setting up the composition. But if you're going to be creating patterns yourself, and again, if you're going to be a model developer, we need to know about composition. So I've got several different models attached here. In this video, in this introduction, we're not going to look at these individual models. I just wanted to point out to you that this is what we mean when we say composition. It's the models that are attached. And it's these models that give a unit its capabilities. So I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to remove this particular unit. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to type in dummy here. I'm going to create a unit called dummy. So I can create units in a Flames scenario with no models attached to them at all. So this is in fact a real unit in the scenario, but because it doesn't have any models attached to it, I can't position it, I can't make it move, I can't make it detect, I can't shoot at it, I can't communicate with it. Other units can't communicate with it, I can't give it commands. The units are an empty shell by default. And the ability to create a unit is something that's built into Flames, but the functionality of units is determined by the models, and Flames itself does not have any models associated with it or included in it. All the models come, as you already know now, from the DLLs, the components that are in the DLL. So I've got this tutorial DLL loaded right here, and that's where all the models come from. So again, I can create a unit, but until I attach models to it, I can't do anything with it. So we're going to learn how to attach models. And that's really the only thing that I wanted to, the last what I want to tell you in this video. This is just the introduction to composition. And we're going to, in the next set of videos, we're going to go into how to attach models and how to attach specific types of models. So that's enough for the introduction. I look forward to talking to you again in the videos that follow. And please go through these videos in order, as is the case with all of the courses in Flames. Thank you for watching, and thank you for choosing to use Flames.